And the gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. Stevens, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our incredible Labor Secretary for taking our questions today. Before we dive in, I did want to take an opportunity to flag some concerns coming out of Michigan's 11th District regarding the Department of Labor's notice of proposed rulemaking on Wagner-Pfizer Act employment service staffing requirements, something that you know well, Mr. Secretary. Your home state, like Michigan, has operated under federal demonstration waivers with the ability to set their own staffing requirements since the 90s. And I know this is an issue that you're waiving very carefully. And I just want to let you know, sir, that I look forward to submitting comments and continuing this conversation with your office as we work to solidify a final rule that allows for states such as ours to maintain their successful local standards of service for workers and job seekers, something that in Michigan worked very well during the pandemic. Now, Mr. Walsh, I'd like to discuss the decision from Oshkosh Defense to move their awarded $6 billion contract to build the next generation of electric vehicles for the United States Postal Service to a totally new non-union plant in another state instead of having UAW members in Wisconsin carry out this lucrative contract. We have seen the pitfalls that happen when some automakers look to reduce their labor costs by building their EV manufacturing facilities elsewhere, where right-to-work laws allow companies to shortchange their workers on wages, benefits, and workplace safety standards. This egregious decision is one of the reasons why I introduced the Union Auto Workers Job Protection Act. My bill would require bids and contracts to build motor vehicles for the federal government to stipulate in which plants motor vehicles will be made or assembled. If a contract awardee wants to move production, they must get written permission from the executive agency and provide same-day notification to impacted labor unions when they seek this permission. So, sir, would you mind just speaking to how policy like this can work to reward employers who are doing right by their workers?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think anytime that we can have policy that supports not just workers, but supports communities that have historically had companies like that in their district. And I think that, as we think about expanding manufacturing in the United States of America, we want to make sure that some of these, like parts of your district and other people's district who is on this podium today, that they benefit from the manufacturing that used to be in their communities years ago. And I think it's not a net gain for America, moving an industry from one part of America to another part of America. It actually hurts the community that's in. So I think anything we can do to encourage more, keeping companies invested in their community that they're in, but also expanding those opportunities in other parts of the country are important.
Yeah, well, thank you. And Mr. Secretary, the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act requires employers and anti-union consultants to report arrangements involving direct and indirect activities to persuade employers on how to exercise their right to organize. So these activities, as we know, are significantly underreported. And while there were over 1,125 union organizing campaigns in 2021 alone, research shows that employers hire consultants in 75% of these campaigns, and the Office of Labor Management Relations Standards received only 166 reports documenting such arrangements. So I'm just kind of wondering what's going on there. What steps is the department taking to improve employer compliance with their reporting obligations in such ways?
We're looking at making sure that there is a requirement for companies, just like there's a requirement for labor to file reports. And a lot of it is that the Department of Labor, OLMS, doesn't have the enforcement ability to enforce the law. So we really push to make sure that these reports are filed, whether it's anti-union persuasion rules, if that's the law, or labor forms. Unions have to file the forms as well. We do everything we can to make sure these forms and these reports get filed.
Well, thank you so much for that response, sir. And I'd also like to note that penalties for violations of reporting requirements are currently non-existent. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'll yield back, but I'll also thank the Secretary for mentioning our work on the Rescue Act in his opening statement to save the multi-employer pension plans. Thank you for your leadership, sir.